At the company holiday party, my manager laughed and said, "You're basically just here because no one else wanted to do your job. We call you the silent seat filler." Everyone laughed while he clinked his glass and added, "Don't take it personally. You know you're not exactly leadership material." I sat there frozen until he whispered, "You'll never have the spine to prove me wrong anyway." So I submitted my resignation that night, with a CC to his boss and the HR director. I never wanted to work in a place like this. A beige cubicle kind of job where people bring the same sad salad for lunch every day and pretend to care about Q3 margins. But after my dad died from a stroke and my mom's medical bills started piling up, I didn't have a choice. My younger sister was still in school, and we needed money. So when I got the offer to join a logistics company in Toledo, Ohio, I took it. It wasn't glamorous. I handled back-end operations, shipping updates, tracking, database corrections, and late-night calls when freight got stuck somewhere between Indianapolis and Columbus. Nobody cared about what I did unless something went wrong. Especially not my manager, Rick Walters. Rick was the kind of guy who learned early that if you act confident and talk fast, people will assume you know what you're doing. He was tall, loud, always smiling, always on his phone. He made sure everyone heard when he closed a deal, landed a client, or hit a target. The thing is, most of the time, it was someone else doing the real work. Usually people like me. For a while, I didn't mind. I wasn't trying to climb the ladder. I just wanted to do a solid job, go home, and take care of my family. I was quiet, efficient, not flashy. That made me invisible to most people, but I didn't care. Until Rick started getting sloppy. He'd send customers the wrong data and blame it on system issues. He'd delegate key reports to interns and tell the VP he handled them personally. He even used one of my tracking templates and presented it in a leadership meeting without removing my initials from the file name. That was the first time I started keeping notes. Not because I planned anything, just because something in me said, "This guy's going to screw you one day." I was right. The company holiday party was in early December, held in one of those sad hotel ballrooms by the airport. The chairs were wrapped in white cloth, the food was lukewarm, and the drinks were flowing a little too fast for a Tuesday night. I came because they said attendance was strongly encouraged. It was awkward like always. Small talk, forced laughs, people pretending to like each other. I found a seat near the back, grabbed a Sprite, and planned to stay just long enough to be seen. Rick had already downed 3 gin and tonics by the time he grabbed a glass and tapped it with a fork. "Everyone quiet down," he said, slurring just a little. I got a quick toast. People turned to him. Some groaned. A few raised their glasses. He smiled wide and looked straight at me. And let's give it up for the one guy in this room who somehow manages to do his job without ever speaking up. Our very own silent seat filler. Some people laughed. Not everyone. But enough. He raised his glass higher. "I mean, come on. You're basically here because nobody else wanted your job. But hey, don't take it personally. You're just not leadership material, and that's okay." More laughter. Someone even clapped. I just sat there. I didn't move. I didn't even blink. My face went cold. My ears burned. I wanted to leave, but I couldn't get my legs to work. Then Rick walked past me, leaned down, and whispered just loud enough for me to hear, "You'll never have the spine to prove me wrong anyway." Then he patted me on the shoulder like he was doing me a favor and kept walking. I sat there for another minute. Then I got up and left. No one stopped me. I didn't cry when I got home. I didn't scream or punch anything. I just opened my laptop and started typing. I wrote my resignation letter. I didn't make it dramatic. I just laid out what I'd done for the company, the projects I'd led, and how I was grateful for the opportunity. Then I attached a folder. The folder had emails, Slack messages, project files, timesheets. Everything I had collected over the last 6 months. Every time Rick lied, inflated numbers, ignored warnings, or used my work without credit. I CC'd 2 people, his boss and the HR director. Then I hit send. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I packed up my stuff, dropped off my badge at reception, and walked out. Nugonbis. No exit interview. Just silence. But I wasn't done. Not even close. The first week after I left the company felt strange. No more 6 a.m. check-ins. No more chasing missing freight reports or cleaning up Rick's screw-ups. For the first time in 3 years I could breathe. But I wasn't really resting. Because while I looked calm on the outside, I was still watching. Waiting. Rick had always been careful around higher-ups. He knew how to play the game. That's why I didn't expect anything to happen right away. Then, 8 days after I sent my resignation, I got a text. It was from Amy, a junior analyst I used to work with. She never said much, but we'd shared a few quiet conversations over the years. Her message was short. Hey, did you know Rick's on leave? Just found out. Something about internal review. What did you do? LOL, I didn't reply. I didn't smile. I just sat there staring at that message. Something was starting. 2 days later, I got a call from Paul, another former coworker who transferred to a different department. He always kept his ear close to the ground. You didn't hear this from me, he said. But there's a rumor going around that you nuked Rick from orbit. HR's been pulling reports. Compliance too. Whatever you sent them. It worked. Still, no one contacted me directly. No calls. No emails. But I didn't need them to. Because I'd planned for this. I'd also submitted a formal ethics complaint through the company's external compliance portal, anonymously. It went straight to the legal department. And I included a few breadcrumbs they couldn't ignore. False numbers. Bonus fraud. Internal emails where Rick pressured junior staff to fudge delivery estimates to keep the client happy. I even flagged a project he claimed to lead that I had actually managed alone. And attached the calendar invites, emails, and file history to prove it. That's what got them to move. Because if there's one thing companies hate more than bad press, it's legal exposure. 2 weeks after that, I heard Rick was still on leave, which meant suspended. And then Amy messaged me again. You're not gonna believe this. They're asking around about the Q4 metrics. Rick had no documentation for any of it. And someone sent your resignation letter to the entire senior team. That part wasn't me. Someone inside must have leaked it. Maybe HR. Maybe someone who was just tired of Rick's crap and wanted to stir the pot. Either way, it was out there. And now people were looking at him differently. Rick had always walked into rooms like he owned them. He wore flashy suits. Had a loud laugh. Bought drinks at happy hour just to show off. But now? People were whispering. Avoiding him. His golden armor was cracking. Around that time, I got an email from Deshaun, a mid-level supervisor who I'd worked with closely. He'd quietly helped me a lot in the past, reviewing reports and vouching for me in meetings. He said, I'm stepping in to cover Rick's team for now. Just wanted you to know. People are reading your resignation. Word's getting around. Lot of folks feel like you said what they couldn't. Then he added, You free to chat? I called him that night. We talked for over an hour. He told me that the company was doing a full audit of Rick's projects. Several employees were being interviewed. One even admitted that Rick had pressured her to alter numbers before sending them to clients. That's when Deshaun said something that made me pause. They're looking for someone to rebuild the team. Someone who actually knows the work. He asked if I'd be interested in coming back. Not to my old job. As a consultant. Remote. Flexible hours. Better pay. I told him I'd think about it. A few days later, I got a DM on LinkedIn. It was from someone I didn't recognize at first. A guy named Rob. Apparently, he was Rick's old college friend. They'd worked together years ago at a shipping startup. His message was weird. Yo, did you really take down Rick Walters? Oh, well, I just saw your name floating in a Reddit thread. That's cold, man. Respect. I looked it up. Sure enough, someone had posted in our /career guidance asking about how to deal with a manager who steals credit. One of the replies was a long anonymous story. My story. Not in full. But enough to know it came from inside the company. Enough to make people ask questions. Rick's name was spreading, and not in a good way. The twist came a week later. Deshaun called me again. You're gonna want to hear this, he said. Rick filed a complaint. What kind of complaint? I asked. He's saying you sabotaged him. That you made up evidence. That you were jealous. I laughed for the first time in weeks. But Deshaun didn't. He's trying to take others down with him. He named Amy. Even me. Said we were part of some conspiracy to replace him. That was Rick's last move. Classic scorched earth. If he was going down, he wanted to drag everyone else with him. I told Deshaun to send that message straight to HR. He did. And I wasn't worried, because everything I sent was true. And I was just getting started. After Rick filed that complaint, things got messy. Deshaun told me HR was suddenly doing damage control. Not because they believed Rick, they didn't. But because they didn't want things to get any more public than they already were. They called it containment. But Rick was unraveling. The man who once strutted around the office now looked like a cornered animal. He was sending emails late at night, reaching out to people he hadn't spoken to in years. Some got vague threats. Others got weirdly emotional apologies. One guy said Rick begged him to lie to HR, offered to split his bonus if he backed him up. Nobody bit. But here's where it really turned. Rick's wife messaged me. Yeah, came through Facebook. I almost didn't open it, but curiosity got the better of me. It said, "Hi. You don't know me, but I'm Rick's wife, Melanie. I don't want to get involved in whatever's going on at his job, but I just found some things and I don't know what to believe. He's been acting strange for weeks. Is there something I should know?" I stared at that message for a while. I could have ignored it. I could have told her it was between him and the company, but something told me not to stay silent. So I wrote back. I kept it simple. He used other people's work to get ahead. Lied to his boss. Lied to the company. Lied to clients. I kept records. I gave them the truth. That's all I did. She didn't reply. Not then. But a week later, Amy texted me again. "You will not believe this. Rick is out. Officially. Fired today. They sent security to walk him out." I didn't say anything back. I just put my phone down and sat still for a few minutes. But then a second message came through. "Also, you remember how Rick's wife used to come to the summer cookouts? She just filed for divorce." After that, everything moved fast. The company made Deshaun's promotion official. He restructured the team, let go of 2 of Rick's old favorites, the ones who looked the other way when he was screwing people over. They brought me on as a contractor just like he offered. I worked from home in the mornings, helped take care of my mom in the afternoons. I even had time to help my sister with her college applications. But the wildest twist came when I was checking my email late one night and saw a message from a law firm. At first, I thought it was spam. Then I opened it. Rick was under investigation. Turns out, the company wasn't just cleaning house. They were covering themselves. Because some of the numbers Rick faked had been submitted in client reports tied to federal contracts. Government freight accounts. That meant legal trouble. Big trouble. And guess who had the clearest paper trail on all of it? Me. The company's legal team reached out directly. They asked if I'd be willing to talk to investigators. I said yes, as long as everything stayed on record. I didn't want backroom deals. I didn't want rumors. I wanted facts. Rick's whole career was built on lies. Now those lies were being picked apart one email at a time. And just when I thought it couldn't go deeper, I got another LinkedIn message. It was from a woman named Rachel. She worked at Rick's previous job, a tech startup in Detroit. Her message: "Saw what happened at your company. Not surprised. He pulled the same thing here 5 years ago. Only difference. No one kept receipts back then. I wish we had." I called her. We talked for an hour. Turns out Rick had a pattern. He'd bounce from company to company every few years, always jumping right before the cracks started showing. Only this time the cracks weren't hidden. They were lit up in red. The company offered me a permanent role, twice the pay I used to make. I told them I'd think about it. But in the back of my mind I wasn't done yet. Because Rick had one more secret. And I had one more card to play. Rick's firing should have been the end of it. But it wasn't. Because when Rachel from Detroit told me Rick had done this before, I couldn't stop thinking about how many people he might have screwed over. How many careers he stepped on. How many quiet workers he humiliated and tossed aside, just like he did to me. So I kept digging. I started reaching out carefully to people who used to work with Rick. His old connections on LinkedIn. Former coworkers. I didn't accuse him of anything. I just asked questions. Most ignored me, but a few didn't. And what they told me? It was worse than I thought. Rick had a pattern. Build a reputation fast. Take credit. Inflate numbers. Then vanish right before someone higher up noticed the gaps. Every time, he left chaos behind. Projects that collapsed after he left. Staff turnover. Morale crashes. People blamed each other, but Rick was already gone by then. He even got payouts from 2 companies. Quiet exits, they called them. Severance in exchange for disappearing without a fight. This time though, there was a paper trail. My paper trail. The company kept digging after I left. And one of the investigators, someone from their external legal firm, called to let me know something big was coming. Rick wasn't just in trouble. He was about to be blacklisted. They were forwarding his case to the Department of Transportation because he'd signed off on data tied to federal shipping contracts. And faking those numbers? That was a federal offense. I asked the lawyer what that meant. He said, if they pursue it, jail time. Minimum 3 years. I didn't cheer. I didn't smile. But I didn't feel bad either. Rick wasn't some jerk who made a mistake. He was a liar who built a whole career on stepping on other people and laughing about it. He laughed at me. In front of a whole room. Now the only people he was talking to were government lawyers. 3 months later, I got an update. Rick had pled out. He admitted guilt to avoid a full trial. He lost his job, his pension, and his clearance for federal contract work. He also had to pay back over $200,000 in misused bonus money. He sold his car. His wife divorced him. His house went on the market. Last I heard, he was living with his cousin in Dayton, working warehouse shifts under a different name. A man who used to clink his glass in suits from Nordstrom Rack now moved boxes in a borrowed hoodie. But that's not the end, because I paid a price too. After everything came out, people treated me like some kind of office hero. HR held transparency meetings. Executives praised me in a company-wide email. I got job offers from people who wouldn't even look at me a year earlier. But the truth? I lost something. I lost the quiet peace I used to carry. I'd gone from invisible to visible, and it came with pressure. People expected me to keep being that guy. The whistleblower. The revenge genius. But I didn't want that. I just wanted to do my job and go home. So I said no to the promotion. I took the contractor deal instead. Remote. Quiet. No spotlight. People didn't understand. Some said I was stupid to turn it down. One exec even told me, "You'll never have another shot like this." Funny. I heard that line before, just from a different mouth. 6 months later, I got one final message. It was from Rick. No hello. No apology. Just 5 words. I hope you're proud now. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I replied, I didn't need to be. You did. Blocked him after that. Now I live in Asheville, North Carolina. Small house. Quiet neighborhood. I work mornings, hike in the evenings. I help my mom with her garden. My sister just finished her first year at Michigan State. She got a scholarship. Sometimes I think back to that night, the hotel ballroom, the laughter, the whisper in my ear. And I remember how I sat there, frozen, thinking I had no spine. Turns out I did. I just needed the right person to wake it up. And he did. So yeah, I'm proud now. But not because I destroyed him. I'm proud because I learned something important. Revenge doesn't have to be loud. It just has to be real. And earned.